This is my story, but it's not a story of fairy tales. It's a story of blood, betrayal, and power. I was abandoned at birth, raised by priests, forgotten by the world, until one day, a stranger flew me across the ocean. They didn't adopt me, they recruited me, trained me to think like a lawyer, and kill like a ghost. Now I've returned to the city that left me for dead, and trust me, I didn't come back for peace. They took everything from me. Now I'm taking everything from them. Before I tell you how it all began, don't forget to subscribe and like, because this story, it's gonna break your heart and set your screen on fire. Detroit, Michigan. 1995. The snow fell like silent ash on the cracked pavement. A rusted baby stroller sat outside St. Jude's Church, its wheels half buried in the slush. Inside it, swaddled in a threadbare blanket, was a boy with bright gray eyes and a name scribbled on a hospital tag: Eliot Monroe. He never cried. Not once. Father Thomas would later say it was like the baby already knew life wasn't going to be kind to him. By the time Eliot turned 7, he had memorized every hymn, every scar on the orphanage walls, and every face that came to adopt everyone but him. "I'm not broken," he once told Sister Clara, fists clenched. "No," she whispered. "You're just too quiet for this loud world." But the silence was his armor. Palermo, Italy, 2006. At 11, Eliot was adopted by Alessandro Moretti, a Sicilian business tycoon with ties to the underworld. The man claimed to want to give a poor American boy a better life, but it wasn't kindness, it was strategy. The moment Eliot landed in Palermo, he realized he hadn't been chosen. He had been selected. "You'll learn loyalty," Alessandro said. "And in return, I'll teach you power." The villa was cold despite the marble floors and golden fixtures. The staff never spoke unless ordered. And Alessandro's sons, Luca and Matteo, looked at Eliot like a stray mutt brought into the family. But Eliot didn't flinch. He studied, observed, memorized every conversation at the dinner table, every coded word in Alessandro's meetings, every betrayal disguised as business. By 17, Eliot spoke fluent Italian, quoted Machiavelli, and could write airtight legal loopholes in 3 countries. But more importantly, he had Alessandro's trust. "You're not just my son," the old man said once, resting a hand on Eliot's shoulder. "You're my weapon." New York City, present day. 12 years later, Eliot Monroe returns to America. He's 29 now, sharply dressed in a charcoal suit, stepping out of a private jet like he owns the tarmac. To the public, he's the mysterious founder of Argentum Holdings, a global investment firm that seemingly came out of nowhere. To the criminal world, he's Il Fantasma, the ghost. No fingerprints, no past, no mercy. But Eliot's not here to flaunt wealth. He's here for something unfinished. A letter arrived 6 months ago, no name, just one sentence. "She never meant to leave you, Eliot. She was forced to." His hand trembled when he read it, and for the first time in years, he felt like that boy in the stroller again. Now, as his car pulls up to an old Detroit neighborhood, Eliot stares at the broken church doors of St. Jude's and whispers under his breath, "I'm home." But this time, he didn't come back to beg for love. He came back to take everything. The morning air in Detroit was thick with memory. Smoke curled from abandoned factories, sirens hummed in the distance like a lullaby of the broken city. But Eliot Monroe didn't flinch. His polished Oxfords clicked against the cracked concrete as he walked toward St. Jude's Church, now just a shell of its former self. The pews were gone, the stained glass shattered. Only Father Thomas remained, older, thinner, eyes clouded but sharp beneath the surface. He squinted at the man in the doorway. "Can I help you?" Eliot hesitated, then said quietly, "You used to sing Ave Maria in the mornings." The priest froze. "Eliot," he whispered, voice breaking. "My God, they said you disappeared. That rich Italian man took you, and—" "He didn't save me," Eliot cut in, stepping closer. "He forged me." Father Thomas reached out like he might embrace him, but Eliot didn't move. Emotion flickered behind his cold exterior, but he wouldn't let it in. "Not yet." "I received a letter," Eliot said, pulling a folded piece of paper from his coat. "No return address. Just one line. She never meant to leave you. Do you know what it means?" The old priest looked down, lips tightening. "You should forget the past." "That's the difference between us, Father," Eliot said, pocketing the letter. "I never do." Elsewhere in Detroit, a dirty apartment complex, a woman watched Eliot's return on her old TV, playing a local news interview of his sudden investment in Detroit's housing redevelopment. She lit a cigarette with trembling fingers. "He came back," she muttered. A voice behind her, rough and angry, snapped, "He can't know who you are." The woman nodded slowly, blinking back tears. Downtown Detroit. Argentum Holdings office. Eliot sat in his temporary corner office overlooking the city that abandoned him. His assistant, a sharp young black woman named Raya, knocked once before entering. "Mr. Monroe, there's a man downstairs asking for you. Says he has information about your mother." Eliot looked up so fast, the pen in his hand snapped. Raya blinked. "Should I let him in?" Eliot stood. "No, I'll go down myself." In the basement parking lot, a man in a worn leather jacket leaned against a pillar, flipping a coin. He was older, eyes sharp with street knowledge. "You're Eliot Monroe," he said. "You have 2 minutes," Eliot replied. The man smirked. "I was there the night she ran. Your mother, she didn't abandon you. She was running from someone who wanted her dead, and you with her." Eliot's eyes narrowed. "Who?" The man hesitated. "You ever heard of the Thorn Syndicate?" A cold chill sliced through Eliot's spine. That name hadn't been whispered since Palermo. Even the Italians feared them. "Why would they want a church girl dead?" Eliot asked. The man tossed the coin again. "Because your mother wasn't just some church girl." He leaned in, voice low. "She used to be one of them." The moment Eliot heard the words, "she used to be one of them," something snapped in him. A memory, long buried, came clawing back. A woman's scream. Flashing headlights. The sound of running feet. A baby's cry, his own. He forced himself to focus. "Explain," Eliot said, voice like steel. The man shrugged. "Your mother, her name was Naomi Thorne. She was the youngest daughter of Victor Thorne, head of the Thorne Syndicate. Real cold-blooded type. But Naomi, she had a heart. That's what got her in trouble." Eliot's lips tightened. "She left the family?" "She betrayed them," the man corrected. "Ran off with a nobody. Your father. A man the Thornes hated. When they found out she was pregnant with you, they came after her. Tried to make an example out of both of them." Eliot's heart pounded. "What happened to my father?" The man hesitated, then said softly, "Dead before you were born." Eliot's jaw clenched. "And my mother?" "She went into hiding. Hid you at the church. Planned to come back, but someone tipped them off. She vanished. Some say she's dead. Others say Victor made her disappear." He paused. "You want the truth? You gotta go deeper than real estate and stock markets." "Why are you telling me this?" Eliot asked. The man smiled, showing a gold tooth. "Because your return woke up old ghosts, and some of us, we want to see the devil's house burn." He handed Eliot a small slip of paper. "Check this address. Someone there still owes your mother." And with that, the man vanished into the Detroit fog. That night, Eliot's penthouse. Eliot stood by the glass wall, overlooking the city skyline, the paper clenched in his hand. For years his life had been a strategy game, every move calculated. Every connection transactional. But now it was personal. He dialed Raya. "I need you to find everything on the Thorne Syndicate, legal businesses, shell companies, known associates, and dig into a woman named Naomi Thorne, dead or alive." Raya hesitated. "Sir, Thorne's on the FBI's radar. Are you sure you want to? I'm not asking for permission." Click. Eliot opened a hidden drawer in the desk. Inside was a silver ring, an old family heirloom Alessandro once gave him. He stared at it for a long moment, then slid it onto his finger. "You raised a ghost," he whispered. "Now watch what happens when it haunts the living." The next morning, abandoned auto shop, the address. Eliot pulled up to the rusted building at dawn. Inside, a blind old man sat sharpening a blade slowly, methodically. He didn't flinch when Eliot stepped in. "You're late," the man said. "I wasn't told I had an appointment." The man smiled. "Your mother? She used to bring you here. I taught her how to fight." Eliot's heart stopped. She knew they'd come for her. She was preparing you. She always knew. The war would find you one day. The man stood, revealing a faded tattoo on his forearm, a crest Eliot had seen only once before. The Thorne family sigil. Eliot stared at the faded tattoo on the old man's arm, a black serpent coiled around a dagger. The Thorne family sigil, a mark that meant allegiance, blood ties, or death. "You were one of them," Eliot said. The man nodded. "Once, before your mother saved me." He motioned for Eliot to sit. The air smelled of rust, grease, and something older, violence preserved by time. "Name's Silas," the old man said, wiping his hands. "I was Naomi's shadow, bodyguard, assassin, whatever she needed." "Then why'd she leave you behind?" She didn't, Silas replied. She made me promise. If anything ever happened to her, I'd wait for the boy with her eyes. You. Eliot clenched his jaw, trying to hide the tremble in his hands. Is she dead? Silas looked away. Some say yes, but the Thorns don't bury their secrets. They lock them away. He handed Eliot a box, old wooden, engraved with her initials. Inside, a worn photo of Naomi holding a baby, a necklace with a sapphire pendant, a sealed letter addressed to Eliot Monroe. With trembling fingers, Eliot opened it. My son, if you're reading this, it means I failed to protect you. But don't let that make you weak. You were born from fire, and fire knows how to survive. One day they'll come for you like they came for me. Don't run. Become something they can't control. Love is what gave you life. Rage is what will protect it. Eliot closed the letter, eyes burning. I want to destroy them, he said. Silas grinned. Then you'll need more than money. Later, Eliot's hidden office maps of Detroit now hung on the walls, each pinned with red dots. Thorne-owned businesses, political connections, dirty cops. Raya stood beside Eliot, stunned. This is a network, she whispered. They don't just own buildings, they own people. Eliot didn't blink. Then we'll start taking them back. How? Turn the ghosts of this city against them. Buy what they've neglected, protect what they exploit. And when they try to retaliate, he leaned in, we burn everything they touch. Raya nodded slowly, inspired but worried. This won't be legal. It doesn't have to be. He picked up the sapphire necklace and stared at it. My mother didn't die so I could follow the rules. Meanwhile, in a penthouse across the city, Victor Thorne, old but cruel-eyed, stared at a grainy surveillance photo of Eliot leaving the auto shop. So, the bastard returns. Beside him stood his heir, Julian Thorne, slick, arrogant, deadly. Should I handle him, father? Victor tapped the glass. No, let him think he's safe, let him build his little empire. Then? He crushed the photo in his fist. We bury him with it. The lights in Eliot's war room dimmed as he stood before a glowing digital board, a chess game of Detroit's power structure. Every dot represented a player, a corrupt judge, a bribed senator, a Thorne-owned property, a vulnerable neighborhood. Operation Ember begins now, Eliot said. Raya leaned over the table, eyes sharp. We hit the pawn shops first. All of them launder money for the Thorns. And then? Silas asked, arms folded. Then, Eliot said, dragging a red marker across the map, we take the banks, the ones hiding dirty money behind clean names. He looked up, the fire in his eyes unmistakable. We don't just attack their business, we turn their allies into liabilities. Later that week, downtown Detroit, the media exploded with headlines. Argentum Holdings donates $20 million to inner-city programs. Local pawn chains suddenly sold to anonymous investor. Thorne Properties accused of tax fraud. Behind the scenes, Eliot's team moved like shadows. Ex-Thorne enforcers bought off, old debts weaponized, whistleblowers paid and protected. But Eliot wasn't just building a financial empire, he was building a rebellion. Meanwhile, Thorne Estate Julian slammed the newspaper onto the table. He's turning the city against us? Victor didn't flinch. Let him. Julian paced like a caged wolf. You said let him build his empire. He's already halfway there. Victor raised a finger. And when he finally feels untouchable, we crush him. He slid a folder across the table. Julian opened it. Inside, a blurry image of a woman, aged, alive. Julian's eyes widened. Is this? Victor nodded. Naomi Thorne. Julian's mouth curled into a smile. Then the game's almost over, Victor whispered. Checkmate comes when he least expects it. That night, Eliot's penthouse balcony. The city lights flickered like distant stars. Eliot stood alone, clutching the necklace his mother left behind. You really out there? He whispered. Or is this all just a game they're playing with my heart? Behind him, Silas appeared. You're moving like a soldier, but don't forget, you're still someone's son. Eliot didn't turn. Sons get buried in this game. Silas stepped beside him. So what happens when they find out you're not just playing the game? That you're rewriting it? Eliot's jaw tightened. Then they'll realize too late, I was never a pawn. Across the city, a shadowed room. A woman stepped into the light. Wrinkles lined her face, but her eyes were fierce. In her trembling hands, a photo of a baby boy. The same one Silas gave Eliot. Is he really back? She asked. A voice from the dark replied, Yes, Naomi, your son is alive, and he's coming for war. She closed her eyes, tears trailing down her face. Then I have to warn him, before it's too late. Naomi Thorne hadn't spoken her son's name aloud in over 2 decades. Not since the night she fled with him, wrapped in nothing but blankets and faith. Now, in a safe house miles outside Detroit, she clutched the sapphire necklace Eliot once wore as a child, the one she left behind as a message. "I knew he'd follow the clues," she whispered. "He was always sharper than they expected." Across from her sat Mira, a former Thorne associate turned double agent. "You're risking everything by reaching out," Mira warned. "Victor will have you hunted." Naomi looked up, her voice steady. "Let him come. I gave up my life to protect my son. I won't let him fight alone." Downtown Detroit, Eliot's private war room. Silas slid a file across the table. "We found her, alive, hiding in Pine Valley under the name Nadine Blake." Eliot stared at the photo. It was her. Older, yes, but the eyes, they hadn't changed. Raya blinked in shock. "She's alive?" Eliot's throat tightened. "They lied. All these years, I thought she left me, and she's been running from them." Silas warned. "She won't be easy to reach. Victor's already activated Project Lazarus. Every sleeper agent in the city is being awakened." Raya looked confused. "What's Project Lazarus?" Silas replied. "It means they're willing to bring the dead back to life, or kill everyone who knows the truth." Elsewhere, Thorne headquarters. Victor stood before a wall of monitors, watching footage of Eliot giving a speech about revitalizing Detroit's economy. "Listen to him," Julian sneered. "He talks like a saint, but he bleeds like us." Victor didn't blink. "He doesn't know yet." Julian raised a brow. "Know what?" Victor's lip curled into a cruel smile. "He's not just Naomi's son." He turned slowly. "He's mine." Back at Eliot's penthouse, the city buzzed below, but Eliot felt like the world had gone silent. The letter, the betrayals, the war he was waging, all of it now held a new weight. If Naomi was alive, why hadn't she come back? Was she still running? He couldn't wait for answers. "I'm going to Pine Valley," Eliot said, grabbing his coat. Raya stepped in his path. "You can't go alone. They want you to chase her." "I don't care." "You should, because you're not just fighting a crime family anymore, you're fighting your blood." That night, Pine Valley cabin. Naomi stood at the window, heart pounding. A sleek black car pulled up. Eliot stepped out. She clutched the photo tighter, every emotion crashing into her chest at once. Guilt, love, fear. When he reached the door, he didn't knock. He simply opened it, and there she stood. Neither spoke. Her lips trembled, and then she whispered, "I'm sorry, Eliot." His eyes burned, but his voice stayed cold. "Tell me the truth, all of it, from the beginning, because now, nothing could ever be the same again." Naomi sat across from Eliot, her hands folded tightly on the table. The sapphire necklace lay between them, a symbol of everything she'd given up, and everything she still feared. "I wanted to tell you sooner," she began, voice trembling. "But if Victor knew I was alive, he would have used me to control you." Eliot stared, stone-faced. "Then start with this. Is it true?" Naomi's eyes welled. "Yes. Victor Thorne is your biological father." The room seemed to tilt. Eliot stood up abruptly, pacing. "So you ran from him, left me in a church, and let me believe I was abandoned, all to protect me from my own blood?" Naomi nodded, eyes pleading. "You don't know what Victor's capable of. He doesn't love, he owns, and he wanted to raise you into a weapon." "I became one anyway," Eliot muttered bitterly. "Only I didn't know whose war I was fighting." Silas, standing silently near the door, finally spoke. "Victor always knew Eliot was his son. He's been waiting for this confrontation." Eliot's voice dropped to a whisper. "And I walked right into it." Later that night, Eliot's office. Raya watched him from across the room. "Are you okay?" "No," Eliot replied, pouring a drink, "but I'm focused." He turned, eyes like burning glass. "We're not just tearing down a criminal empire anymore, we're taking down my father." Raya stepped forward. "Then let's make sure he feels it." She slid a USB drive across the table. "Anonymous whistleblower sent this. Audio recordings from inside Thorne headquarters. Victor's planning something, tonight." Eliot plugged it in. A chilling voice played. "Stage the fire. Frame Eliot Monroe for the deaths. The media loves a fallen angel." Raya's eyes widened. "He's going to burn one of your shelters, the one in Greystone." Eliot was already grabbing his coat. "Not tonight." Greystone shelter, midnight. The building was quiet, filled with sleeping children and families. Then, tires screeched. Men in black jumped out with gasoline tanks. They didn't get far. Eliot was waiting, with Silas, with armed security, with a hidden camera live streaming to the public. As the attackers were subdued, Eliot stepped into the light, addressing the camera. You've heard rumors about who I am. Tonight, I confirm it. I am Eliot Monroe, born in Detroit, raised by the Mafia, trained to be a shadow, but I'm no longer hiding. I am Victor Thorne's son. He paused. And I'm going to end his legacy, not with vengeance, with truth. The video exploded across the internet in hours. Thorne Estate, moments later. Victor threw the glass at the wall. He forced my hand, Julian hissed. Now the FBI's watching. We can't move. Victor's eyes narrowed. Then we make him come to us. He picked up a phone. Bring Naomi. The sun hadn't yet risen, but Eliot Monroe was already wide awake. The video of his confession had reached millions. Whispers turned into headlines. Allies began to rise, enemies began to panic. But something else had happened overnight. Naomi had vanished. She's gone, Raya said, storming to his office. Security said she was taken. No signs of forced entry, no noise. Just gone. Eliot didn't blink. Victor has her. Silas stepped forward, jaw tight. Then you know what comes next. Eliot turned to his digital map of Detroit. The glowing web of power Victor once controlled. Then he pressed a button. One by one, every Thorne-owned business turned red. Tonight, we burn it all. Thorne Estate underground cell. Naomi sat in a cold chair, wrists tied, eyes locked on the man she once called her husband. Victor paced before her, calm and calculating. I gave you the world, and you spat in my face. I gave you a son, Naomi said weakly. And you tried to make him your soldier. Victor smiled darkly. And now he's the one burning my kingdom down. Fitting, isn't it? Naomi looked him dead in the eye. He's not like you. Victor leaned closer. He's worse. Downtown Detroit. Eliot's final move. That night, Eliot arrived at Victor's private tower, alone. But the city wasn't. Every screen lit up with a hacked broadcast. Raya's doing. Tonight you'll see what power looks like when it refuses to kneel. Eliot entered through the front doors as explosions rocked the tower's financial core. Carefully planned, no casualties, just collapse. The Thorne empire crumbled from the inside. He found Victor waiting in the top-floor office. Where is she? Eliot asked. Victor stood, arms open. My son returns. I am not your son. Victor smirked. Still playing the noble fool. You could have ruled beside me. I'd rather burn in hell than inherit your throne. Suddenly, click. Julian appeared behind Eliot with a gun. But before he could fire, bang. Silas stepped from the shadows. Told you I never miss twice. Julian dropped, stunned. Victor lunged, but Eliot struck fast, a punch then another until the man fell to his knees. This is justice, Eliot said, panting. Victor spat blood. You think the world will see you as a hero? You're a killer just like me. Eliot stared down at him. No, I'm what you could never be, a man who chose his own story. He turned to Silas. Get my mother. 3 days later, Naomi's hospital room. Naomi held Eliot's hand, tears in her eyes. You saved me. Eliot smiled gently. You gave me life. I just returned the favor. She squeezed his fingers. What now? Eliot stood by the window, watching the city breathe. Now we rebuild. Not with fear, but with truth. News report voiceover. Victor Thorne found dead in a mysterious blaze. Eliot Monroe confirmed as whistleblower who exposed decades of corruption. Argentum Holdings, to invest $100 million in rebuilding inner-city programs. Some call him a savior. Others, a ghost. But one thing's certain, Detroit will never forget the name Eliot Monroe. If you want more stories like this, filled with twists, emotion, and power, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment below. Let us know. Would you want a season 2?